All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this on YouTube. But for our Mastermind group, I just want to say Happy New Year. We are kicking off on January 2nd here, and I have the wonderful pleasure of being joined not only in the session, but here for the recap with the Brad Hughes of the Teach Better team. And it's so great to see you, buddy.
So great to see you too. Great to reconnect with our admin masterminders. Happy New Year to you and your loved ones, and Happy New Year to everyone watching and connecting with us. We really want to continue to build connections with both our school leader community through the admin mastermind and through our admin mastermind Facebook group, but through the Teach Better community as well. We've got great things planned in store for 2024. Many are planned, and some just kind of happen upon us, Josh, like the great conversation that we were engaged with today just evolves naturally out of the spirit of goodwill and good practice for school leaders from all over the country.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, Brad, because we've changed kind of the format of what we've done before, where we had like these monthly themes to really trying to tap into, what's going on in the world of our administrators now. And, today was something where we had a topic and it kind of transformed into something a little bit different. And that is totally fine. That's what we want. We want to make sure that we're here to support and collaborate as a group. And so what was funny was my starter question was on attendance as far as our own experience as kids. Like, what did we do to kind of have our own excuses to get out of school and play hooky? And it was pretty fun to hear that for a lot of us, and including myself, like that just wasn't an option.
Agreed, and it wasn't an option for many of our participants either. It was just something that we did. As we we went to school, we were
So,
supported in doing so for better and for worse. We had the great days, we had the lousy days, and we just kept going and showing up. And then the conversation transformed into how we can maximize student attendance, but also some of the frustrations and some of the setbacks that can occur when trying to
yeah.
maximize teacher and educator attendance, with a number of the stressors around staff shortages and the real stress that educators feel in choosing to take a day, a needed day, whether it's for illness or personal reasons.
Yeah. And so, kind of just asking the group, like, what was kind of the current state of teacher attendance. And it was pretty interesting to hear just kind of how teachers are feeling right now. And I don't think this is a surprise to anyone, but it sounds like a lot of folks are really focused on like their mental and physical health, but then also the amount of stress that they're feeling within the workplace.
There are a lot of stressors, both within and from without, that make the decision for any educator to call in sick or to take a personal day, much needed day. There's a lot of stressors that go into that decision. I think a lot of educators, and myself included, when I think about how much work it is to prepare a day for a sub
Mhm.
or for a guest teacher, guest staff member to come in, it sometimes just feels like more work to go, less work to go in when you're not
Yeah.
feeling your best than to stay home. The flip of that is that as school leaders, and this was borne out in the conversation, we have to model those desired behaviors if we really believe and desire for our educators to take time away when they're sick to recover, and also to avoid spreading illness among our campuses.
Yeah.
Also, giving guest teachers an opportunity to come to the fore and to shine, to develop their skills too. If we really believe it, we have to model it for ourselves too, Josh. And I don't think that was a specific focus for our conversation, but if it is difficult for a teacher or educator to take a day, imagine the complexity around a school leader taking a much needed day, whether he or she
Yeah.
is ill or has family needs to.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good connection that someone had made about just one, the starter question of like they were kind of being perspective like of, I didn't get to take off as a child and I had to go, with a broken leg, or, I was ill and I still went to school because my parent made me. And then, now as an educator and as a school leader, they continue that behavior of, I can't take a day off. I have to go into school. And but then also like the culture that's been created just in education. And
Uh-huh.
the other piece of the conversation was just like how the workload gets distributed to other teachers, and maybe the guilt that's felt there, or maybe the pressure from that team to make sure that that person comes in regardless of what's going on in their personal life. So I thought that was very interesting conversation also.
I don't think there's any right or wrong. There's any, part of the mastermind experience is sometimes we're seeking answers, and sometimes we're
Yep.
just seeking connection. That there really is no clear solution, but a recognition, I think, of those different stressors that the individuals and that teams are facing invites us as school leaders to really just seed or plant conversations around those stressors, and find out, if we have a need to achieve some kind of a culture shift in terms of
Hmm.
how staff absences are supported, encouraged, even if it's a matter of physical or mental health, whatever it is. Recognizing those tensions exist. Part of the art of leadership is to really engender those conversations where those competing interests are put out there, and they're not sort of hidden. Because I think the more that we feel internally the stress, and the more we perceive that external stresses are causing us to make different decisions, I think that there's an opportunity for school leaders to open those conversations and to find out what people are really thinking and experiencing.
Yeah, Brad, will you talk about just the culture aspect, because that kind of took a lot of our conversation this
Yeah.
morning in regards to, as a school leader. I mean, obviously, we want to make sure that we are creating an environment that teachers want to be in, but then also creating a culture of being more effective and efficient in the job so that we can decrease the stress, which hopefully will resolve the root of the absence in the first place.
I think that the culture needs to honor the significant impact that educators make each and every day that they arrive at work. It needs to recognize the significant physical and emotional uh, uh, challenge that each educator is expending a ton of energy, both physical, emotional, and mental, to do the best work that he or she can. I think it's easy for us to say, we can never control how someone is going to respond to our work in the world. That's easy to say, but it's tough to have the impact of wondering what people are thinking, saying, or wondering about the work that you do and about the time that you take off. But the culture, I think, is part of a continual reflection on my part, and on all of our masterminders' parts, about how can we make it possible for everyone to look forward to coming to their workspace, to have permission to take time away when needed, and also the security to know that the kids are going to be well looked after by guest staff or by sub staff when those absences inevitably occur.
Yeah, I wanted to throw out some interventions too that were discussed this morning too, because obviously, this is a trend that's moving forward. I think, a lot of people are very in tune with their mental health, which they should be in this profession. And so some talk about having a permanent sub that's, they either gain from their district or something that they, use within their own funds, their building funds, to have to rotate through the staff, or just to be there in a crisis time. They also talked about paying teachers for the extra time used, as far as taking an extra period to sub in a classroom, providing sub days to teachers to allow them to catch up on their work and hopefully alleviate some of that stress. And then, of course, creating self belonging for the staff. And Brad, you had talked about that self belonging piece, and I love some of the strategies that you provided. Would you mind just sharing a little bit of what you talked about with that?
Well, I appreciate that. And I mean, the belonging is key. When I think about the role that guest staff or that sub staff play, I mean, we our schools and classrooms can't function without them. And so when we're trying to take a look at, addressing sub shortages or staff shortages, I mean, one thing that is within our control with as school leaders is to create an environment where guest staff or sub staff feel welcome, supported when
Yeah.
they walk in. People know them by name. People care about who they are and what they can offer. I hear from a lot of guest staff who visit my school that experience is not shared among different
Mhm.
buildings. Sometimes sub staff come in and they kind of float around like a ghost, and they kind of leave without anyone really
Yeah.
acknowledging them, personally, expressing any kind of gratitude for the fact that they're there. And we want our schools to be welcoming places for everyone, including sub staff who may, according to district, have a choice where they choose to work each and every day. My feeling is I want to make our school an easy place to say yes to, because they felt welcoming. And you mentioned the idea of having sort of a permanent sub, or like someone who is familiar with the guest community. I mean, what better investment to make in an aspiring educator or in a sub educator than to provide them with a home away from home where they look
Yeah.
forward to coming and they can, participate in that community. And we also shifted the conversation, Josh, didn't we, to some of the classroom spaces, how we make,
Mhm.
classroom spaces inviting for us as educators, but also inviting for the kids. And there was the concept of, using the classroom as a blank canvas, or even the school community as a blank canvas
Yes.
to be added to over the school year.
Yeah, I think it was about, providing permission to
Yeah,
teachers, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about the expectations and the needs of a teacher. And so if we can start kind of knocking those out of the way and saying, no, you don't need to start from scratch. You don't need to do some of these things that are just assumed, and creating that culture of,
mhm,
like we said earlier, being efficient in our time, because as we know, there's only more and more things being added to each teacher's plate.
right on. It's about recognizing that there is always more to do, and the plate will either need to grow or things will need to shift off the plate. And that
Yeah.
concept of permission for me, Josh, is key, both personally and professionally. It's
Hmm.
permission for things to be in progress, permission for things to be messy before they get clear, but also permission to say no. My plate is full at the time, because as educators, we're naturally caring, we're giving, we
Yeah.
serve, we want others to be happy and satisfied. And it is really, really important that we also recognize that we also have to be happy and satisfied with what we're contributing to. And the old adage, you can't pour from an empty cup. If that plate is being filled, how are you intentional about taking time to restore lost energy and lost spirit? And how, in fact, as school leaders, how are we intentional about giving that permission that lost energy needs to be restored? Those connections need to be nurtured, and you want to make sure that your school is a place that, in terms of the relationships, in terms of the welcoming space, that it's
Yeah.
adding to it's adding to the energy, it's building the energy rather than depleting it all the time.
Yeah. And last thing, Brett, I just want to touch on is, with that permission, is that communication piece of,
Mhm.
yes, recognizing that your teachers have needs, allowing them to take the time off that they need to, but also providing the professional development to understand what the process is, what they need to do to be a responsible employee of the district, and then also to make sure that they're not, leaving someone else to do the work for them. Um, I think that permission piece is important to let that school culture understand. Like, if you need time off, take time off. But at the same time, there are certain expectations that are required of that individual, to be prepared prior to that absence.
And I think that clarity is actually a form of kindness, because when you are clear about our expectations, whether it's as a school leader or you're representing the district's expectations in terms of reporting absences or what needs to be left for the sub, for the guest teacher, if we are as clear as possible, then we have created a situation where when the staff meets his or her obligations, then we can provide positive feedback and support. When there's a shortfall, we can always refer back to those stated expectations that we were as clear as possible. And here's what we noticed. Here's how it fell short. Here's what we expect to happen next time. It gives that staff member all the information they need to be successful the next time they need the time off.
Love it. Well, I just want to let everyone know, every Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time, you can join us in this phenomenal group of administrators all over the country, even Canada. I mean,
Even Canada.
we're all over. So if you haven't yet, jump on to teachbetter.com/mastermind. It's a free sign up, for anyone that's interested. And then, of course, let's continue the conversation. So if you're not in the Facebook group, community is growing like crazy. I feel like, Brad, we're adding new people to this Facebook group, every single day. And I'm so excited to continue this conversation. So you have two options here. If you want to throw it in the comment section here in YouTube, you can do that, or you can jump over to Facebook. And like I said, just continue to throw resources in there, and continue the conversation on, interventions and things that you've done to support your staff through teacher absences.
It's so gratifying to see that Facebook community grow, Josh. And I want to wish you and your loved ones and everyone watching right now both a very happy New Year. And let's get clear. You're invited to join us in that space. And as you said, every Tuesday morning, 9 a.m.
That's awesome. Well, Brad, it's been wonderful to see you this morning and have you join the Admin Mastermind group. I love seeing that community every Tuesday. But also, I mean, what better way to start 2024 than to see my good friend, Mr. Brad Hughes? I mean,
I
it
feel
doesn't
the
get any
same way.
better.
Yeah, every chance we have to connect and interact makes me feel great and makes me a little bit better. And so, wishing you the best. Always great to connect.